Join passionate automotive trainer and coach Andrew Uglow as he breaks the technical training only curse and uncovers the hidden horsepower in your crew. This is the roadmap to unlocking talent, boosting morale, and leaving customers gushing. I'm your host, Anthony Pearl, and this is the Frictionless Workshop podcast. Let's get cranking. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to what is going to be a slightly different episode because Andrew and I have discussed this, and Andrew's going to ask some of the questions of me. And the whole goal here is, Andrew, if you want to set the scene perhaps, is that, I'm not expected to have the technical knowledge here. I'm not the expert, but it's merely to play a role.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's pretend that you woke up one morning and some close person that you know, relative, friend, neighbor, whatever, has died and they've willed you an automotive workshop. Congratulations, you are now a workshop owner. Anthony, well done.
Woohoo.
And so you get to go in and you get to manage this workshop. And as a workshop owner and workshop management now, it's your job to make sure that your technicians are performing, because if they don't, you don't make a profit, and so the business is doomed. And you have to make sure that your technicians are up to speed technically. So you need both performance and technical capacity to be able to succeed here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of examples, a couple of the challenges that you might come across frequently in the business, and you can only respond one of two ways. You can respond by saying technical training or no technical training. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. All right, let's play. Feels like a bit of a game show. Let's get going.
So you're in the business and you notice that a bunch of your technicians just simply don't have the skills. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the ability that you need to be able to, that you need them to have to succeed working on the cars. What do you do?
Technical training.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. You notice that there's a particular individual in the business that really lacks confidence working on cars. They're not sure. They don't make a call. They're a little bit skittish. They're reluctant to try something because they might get into trouble. What do you do?
Technical training sounds like an order there.
Yeah, absolutely. You also notice that there's a couple of guys that work for you that got some pretty poor personal discipline. They're late. They don't come in and don't tell you. They take days off. They disappear at lunchtime and you got no idea where they are. What do you do?
Yeah, I don't think that's a technical issue. It would be my immediate reaction.
Yeah, so not technical training in that case. Okay. What about the person in your business that's got the crappy attitude? You know, that they bitch and moan and carry on, and the cup's half empty and it's broken and it's not fair, and his cup's a better color than mine, and they're just a negative Nelly and dragging everything down. What do you do?
Yep, that doesn't sound technical to me.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Absolutely. What about someone who's constantly stressed? They're just wound up all the time, fly off the handle. They've got perhaps some anger management issues, arguably even perhaps some mental health issues. What do you do?
Yeah, it's a challenging one, but I'd say that's not technical either. It doesn't, at least on the face of it, doesn't appear to be a technical issue.
Absolutely. What about the person who is the minimum viable product person? They work to the absolute bare minimum that they can get away with. You've got to check everything they do. You've got to make sure that you've got to follow them up on everything. Did they actually do this? Did you do this? Did you do that? You constantly have to ride them. What do you do with them?
Well, assuming that they're diligent in terms of in terms of the personal that they're showing up, technical training could be a real option there.
Mm-hmm. And after you've done technical training, if things haven't changed, now what do you do?
Yeah, well, it's not a technical issue anymore, is it?
So, given that in this example, that the only options you've been given were do technical training or don't do technical training, how is technical training effective at addressing all of the different challenges or the different types of challenges that you're going to face in a workshop?
It's going to impact, to a certain extent, but it's not, if you've only got those two options to only those two levers to pull, then certainly it's an important lever to pull for many cases, not necessarily all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some things absolutely it is like a direct match. It's the perfect thing to do. And for other things, you might as well send them to a knitting class because you might get the same result as sending them to technical training. So how do you think about a business that really only has that choice? Let's do technical training or let's not do technical training.
It's a difficult one because if that is literally the only choices that you have, or it's the only choices that you've made for yourself, perhaps, is the point, then becomes very black and white. And that in itself is a problem.
Absolutely. And the whole reason we went through this little charade is because there are a lot of businesses in the automotive industry that have that one lever. Let's do technical training. The problem is that most of the things that I hear business owners, workshop management complain about are the guy never turns up. He's not here, or he's here some of the time, or he's always sick, or there's a family thing, or he's just super negative and he drags everyone down, or he's unreliable, or he doesn't care, or he is capable of it, but he's not actually going to do it for us. He might be skilled, and when he has a good day, he's fantastic. But when he doesn't, he just creates hell for us. And technical training doesn't fix those issues, right? It's limited in what it can do. If it's a technically related issue, then absolutely. But if it's not, then what do we do? Where do you go to solve those other issues? And for workshop management and for workshop owners, I'm going to argue there really isn't anywhere. You try to manage the person or performance manage the person out of the business, or you give them a DCM, don't come Monday. You and your mate take your tools and get out of here. But they're really your only options. That seems to be the only choice for business management. Like it's we keep the person and try and force them to do the things that we need them to do, or we deliver technical training and hope that something changes over the time. Now, if it's a skills related issue or a confidence issue or an ability issue, technical training is the perfect thing to be doing. But it's not a magic pill, is it?
Definitely not. It's not going to be the answer to everything, to all of your problems. It may well provide some of the answers, but it's difficult when you've only got two of those levers to pull.
Absolutely. And why would you limit yourself to just that? And can I say that for me, this is coming out of a point of frustration. I've been doing automotive technical training for, gosh, a long time. I think I'm something like 25 years now. I kind of lose track. As I said previously, I've seen in excess of 30,000 people come through classes that I've been in. And I will tell you that technical training is absolutely critical in the industry. It is like, it's a bit like oxygen, right? If you don't have it, you're in real trouble. And at the same time, it's not the only thing we need. It's not the only thing we need. But automotive doesn't seem to be able to get their brain around the fact that technical training doesn't work sometimes. And they don't have another option. That like I talk to managers, what do you do? Oh, we just get rid of the guy. Okay, that's fine. But now you're short-staffed. And sometimes it is worth getting rid of the person, right? Absolutely. If they're creating living hell for everyone else, get out, don't come back. But if they're just having a moment where they're struggling with something else, or there's other pieces at play that we don't know about, well, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. You could have helped that person turn themselves around, help that person get engaged, help that person start to deploy the skill and be successful, and you would have had a cracking employee. But that doesn't seem to be an option in automotive. We only ever do, for technicians at least, technical training. Let me give you an example. I work with a lot of people who work as workshop foremen or workshop controllers. And I have made it a habit over the last 20 years to ask people who are workshop foremen or workshop controllers, have you ever done training on how to be a successful workshop foreman? Like learn the skills of a workshop foreman. And I can literally count on one hand the number of people who have said yes. And again, we're talking thousands and thousands of people. And I don't know about you, but that just blows my mind. Why would you promote a really good technical person into a role that requires people management skills, customer management skills, a higher degree of self-management skills, and not teach them how to do it successfully? Like, does that strike you as insane?
Yes, it doesn't make any sense, does it?
Right. And from a business perspective, like, okay, so there's a cost to the training and there's a cost in time. And I get it that you're busy, right? Not having a foreman for a day is hard. Not having a foreman for 2 days is hard. But the return on that training, when this person now has some skills, some confidence, some capability, well, that's ongoing. That's the gift that keeps on giving. And it befuddles me. Like, it absolutely puts me in a spin. I cannot get my brain around it. And it seems to come back to the excuse of money. Oh, we don't have the time. Oh, we need him to do this. Oh, without him, we're lost. Well, okay. What if he gets so overwhelmed because he's so underskilled, he goes, screw you, I'm out. And that happens more often than not.
The Frictionless Workshop podcast is brought to you by Solutions Culture. For details on how to get in touch with Andrew, consult the show notes below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now, back to the podcast. What about the people that still remain skeptical about all of this? I mean, talk to me about how proven the idea of technical training is, because it can seem theoretical to some people sitting there, because it is an investment.
Oh, absolutely. It is an investment. And the argument goes like this. Why should I train my people when they just take the training and leave? Every time I train someone, they upskill and then they leave. Well, there's a couple of reasons why that is. And it's not the reasons on the surface. So Henry Ford, who we know, right? This was the guy who effectively invented mass production in automotive. He stated that for him, it was more costly for him to take someone that was technically skilled and not train them than it was to take someone who was technically skilled, train them, and have them leave. And he measured that. Like, he had numbers to show, look, this person had training, this person didn't have training. This is the difference in performance. It is far cheaper for me to bring on a technically skilled person, train them further, and even if they leave, I'm in front. Now, I'm going to argue it's the same in your workshop, and it is an investment. And this is why we've been saying, don't just upgrade your technicians, upgrade yourself, upgrade your business, become retention worthy, so that when your technicians upgrade, they'll want to stay because there's a reason for them to stay. Coming back to the reasons why people leave, coming back to that question about, is it actually worth technical training? I believe that technical training is insufficient, as in it doesn't cover all of the areas that we demand of our technicians. It covers the technical side, and that's great, and it should, but it doesn't cover attitude, mindset, self-management, resourcefulness. It doesn't cover all of these other areas that the technicians need, and management and owners complain that technicians don't have. So again, I'm back at befuddlement. If we're demanding that of them, wouldn't it make sense to train them in that? And part of the reason why this hasn't happened is that it hasn't been available. And I'm going to go available till now.
So what's changed?
Let me do the shameless sales plug, right? my background, automotive technical, then into technical training, then training management. And I got profoundly frustrated that I could have a technician A who would turn up to the training, take the information, go back to work, and was fantastically successful. Like, I would get phone calls from service managers going, I don't know what you did to my people, but they are freaking gold now. That's brilliant. Keep doing it. And they would send all these people along. However, that same business would have someone come along, do the training, go back and struggle. And we didn't have an answer as to why that was. Everyone had a theory. Oh, it's their attitude. Oh, it's their experience. Oh, it's their time in the trade. Oh, they're shit at maths. Oh, and there was a whole variety of reasons, and they were correct, but they were incomplete. For every reason that was given as to why they were struggling, despite having about the same time in the trade, despite having about the same amount of training, despite having a good attitude, whatever it was, for every reason that they were given, I could find a dozen examples of people who had the same problem but were performing. And so the issue was that we didn't have an effective way to test. We had all of this observable behavior, but we had no way to understand why that behavior was happening. And so for me, my measure was, can these techs, when they go back to the workshop, succeed in the jobs that they're supposed to succeed in? And for the most part, the answer was yes. But there was a bunch, the answer was no. And that drove me nuts because, well, is it the training? Is the training not successful? Are we not doing it right? Is there something else we should be doing? Because the metrics that I got measured on was the performance of the people when they got back to the business. And because we didn't have a tool to be able to go and test for not just what was happening, but why it was happening, we kept playing at the tip of the iceberg. We never got to the real problem. And it was only years later that I came across a tool called neurobehavioral modeling. Now, you're all going, neuro what? Neurobehavioral modeling comes out of behavioral psychology. The gentleman who pioneered the process, his name is Dr. White Woodsmall. And he's an absolute genius on so many levels. And essentially, neurobehavioral modeling is a tool that allows you to quantify or unpack in detail people's unconscious competence. So there's 4 levels of skill, if you like. There's one that is unconscious incompetence. You're doing the wrong thing and you don't even know you are. The next level up is conscious incompetence. You become aware of you're doing the wrong thing. You can't do the right thing yet, but you're working on it. So it's conscious incompetence. And then we go to conscious competence, right? Where you've really got to think and work hard and be really present when you're working on something, and you can do the job. You've got to really work at it, but you can do the job. And then we move to a level where, unconscious incompetence. It's a bit like, I don't know if you've ever driven home, maybe moved houses or something like that, and you drive home to your old place and you go, well, what am I doing here? It's unconscious incompetence. When we first start learning to drive, struggle and strain and watching and terror and honking and all the stuff that goes on, and I forgot to indicate. And then when we get to unconscious incompetence, we're making sandwiches, we're putting on our makeup, we're listening to tapes, we're swiping left on our phone or right or whatever we're doing, and driving and drinking coffee. And so the technical gurus in the industry have got unconscious incompetence. They walk up to a car and they find the problem and it looks like magic. It's car whispering, for want of a better description. And so we had no way of knowing how they did that. Everyone had a theory, but we had no way to actually access the unconscious competence that they were displaying. And it wasn't until I came across neurobehavioral modeling that I was able to go and unpack what's really going on.
And this is such an area that I know we're going to explore a little bit more in the future, but just to wrap things up, I know from my perspective of having spent a great deal of time talking to you, Andrew, that the interesting aspect of what you do is that it's more than just the training because of this area, that it is being able to tap into people and it is being able to share that information as well for the benefit of owners that are going to get more out of their team because what you're trying to deliver is not just training.
Yeah, absolutely. We have effectively reverse engineered the experience or the structure of how the technical gurus get the results that they get. And now that we know what that is, now that we've discovered how they do what they do, we've put that into a program that we call the resourceful technician. And the resourceful technician essentially allows us to teach deliberately technicians not just the technical knowledge that they need, and that's important, but teach them how to think, teach them strategies, teach them how to run their brain, teach them what a quality mindset is, teach them the methods, the neurological methods that the gurus are using to be successful working on complex compound faults on cars. Teach them how to make meaning from data, because everyone has the data, but what it means, that's the magic. That's the bit that's really important. And the gurus were able to look at data and come to the reality of what it meant, not just faster, but far more accurately. And there was a whole range of strategies that they employed to do that. And we've packaged them into what is the resourceful technician formula. And so we don't just deal with technical training. We've evolved, if you like, beyond that. We do technical development. We start to address those challenges that simply aren't addressed by technical training. We can install thinking into technicians, obviously with their consent, that shifts behaviors and moves them from the disengaged minimum viable product person to someone who actually wants to be there and gets a thrill out of being successful and is profoundly successful, more than they've ever been. And that's huge for businesses, but it's only huge for businesses if they upgrade first. And this is why we talk about the frictionless workshop, in that there's two parts involved in friction, right? There's two surfaces. You can have the best technicians in the world, but if the business is crappy and awful to be in, why would they stay? And so the business has to upgrade first, and then the technicians, and then you get frictionless. And that is magic. That is magic financially. That is magic from a stress point of view. That is magic for your customers. That, like, pick a metric. Frictionless is the difference that makes the difference. And it comes about because we've moved away from mere technical training to technical development.
Thank you for listening to the Frictionless Workshop podcast. For details on how to get Andrew working with you and your technicians, take a look at the show notes. There's also a link to some special content you can access. I'm Anthony Pearl, reminding you to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.